We work on cars every single day and we think we have got a pretty good tool selection.
But there are a load of weird tools that you've probably never even heard of before.
So we spent £500 on every weird tool we could find to test them out and see if they're actually useful or not.
And one of these tools could solve one of the biggest issues that we have when working on cars.
First up was this mystery box.
This is a blowtorch, and this isn't the tool that we're about to show you. These are extremely useful for getting bolts out, but it is an open flame, and not only is that a little bit scary to use, but it can be quite dangerous under a car. There are certain things you don't want to melt, and this tool should help that. All jokes aside, this is the hot rod. This does look like some kind of police item you'd find in a Fast and Furious film. Get the hot rod. This is an induction heater. It's a relatively simple piece of tech, actually.
It really is.
This is going to replace this with no flames at all.
There's going to be a bit of a recurring theme because we have bought the cheapest ones we could find. So there's going to be a lot of nice English instructions.
On that note, I decided to take a look at the instruction manual, and I was somewhat surprised by what I found.
Sorry, not what I imagined. It provides flameless heat, making it ideal for plastic trim removal.
It can't be on if it's melted.
Put the coil legs into the holes, tighten the knobs, plug in the socket, and away you go.
Take for instance this bolt in here. I could get to it with this blowtorch. There's all sorts of wires and electrical components and brake lines around it that I do not want to heat up. We need to find a way of heating this bolt here without setting fire to everything around it.
Now, why heat? Now, if you freeze something, it will contract, but if you heat it up, it will expand. And what that does is it breaks it away from any corrosion or rust or whatever your bolt is stuck to, and basically freeze it up. So this could be one of the best tools we've ever bought.
He's got a coil here, and all it does is it sends electromagnetic pulses around there really quickly and switches them back and forth. The magnetic field that goes through this little open hole sends heat through it. But the beauty of this is that nowhere apart from inside those coils is getting hot. I can touch this here, no heat at all, but that bolt head is going to get red hot. Tell me that's not magic. Now if I go on this one that we haven't touched, that one is still tight. Let's try this one now. Not a joke. That's not a joke. Look, one hand. Hot rod, absolute pass. Also, you can get a loose one of these that you just wrap around wherever you want. It is by far the most expensive tool we bought. This cost £208 alone. But instead of snapping bolts in places that you can't get a blowtorch to, worthwhile in my opinion.
Tool number 2, a Boroscope. This is possibly my favourite one so far because it's funny. It is not for human use, it specifically said this, so you can't go putting this up your...
And this cost us
£30.
$29.99.
And again, not an everyday tool. You're not using this every single service, but sometimes you want to have a look. Stuff in here, in the actual engine or in a gearbox or in the head of the engine, you can't just have a look at that stuff. So this is an oil drain hole, basically, for the turbo that we've removed from this car.
But look, you can now see inside the engine.
I will admit, control is tough.
We use this for the BMW E36 engine that we worked on here.
There is also a slightly creepier use for the Boroscope.
Our toilet is shared between, I think, 30 or 40 men, so it's difficult to get a slot in the bathroom. I think there's someone in there, but I'm going to check.
Hey, Will.
Hello, mate.
I won't be long.
Okay. Okay. Don't use it for that. That will put you in prison.
Please don't do that.
Before we test out some more weird tools, this is a quick reminder that if you're buying a used car, you should always run a car vertical check.
That's right, because every single day hundreds of cars get crashed and some of them get repaired and put back on the road, perhaps with some of our weird tools. But to find out that dodgy history, you can run a car vertical report.
All you have to do is enter your reg number or your VIN, and a car vertical report will tell you if that car has been crashed, stolen or clocked.
Now take for instance our Vauxhall Zafira GSI behind me, which we are building soon. Don't worry, it's coming. When we went to go and look at this car, it had no mention of any crash damage history. When we ran the car vertical report, it came back with a yellow marker for damage. And when you click on it, you can see that it was previously written off. So we used this information to haggle with the seller and get it for the correct price.
Now, this Porsche Boxster has somehow had it much worse than our Zafira because we have got a yellow mark for title check, but also for damage. And if we scroll into the pictures, we can see why. That's not a crash, that has been chopped up. You are unlikely to see this exact car go back on on the road, but they may try and take the VIN number and the registration from this car and put it on a stolen car in another country, trying to hide the identity. But with the VIN number and a car vertical report, you can find out this dodgy past.
So anytime that you're buying a car, van or motorbike, perhaps to use these weird tools on, make sure that you run a car vertical check to make sure that the price you pay for it matches its history.
And as an added bonus, you can get 30% off when you use code CM using our link in the description below.
Having used the Boroscope for its intended purpose, we moved on.
Now, one of the biggest issues that anyone who's worked on a car for a long time will tell you about is lighting. Now, we are lucky enough that we have a fully lit workshop. However, we've all been there working on our driveway, outside, under a car, in the dark, and one of these is your only help. What if there was a better way? Now, the first one, imagine it. You're outside, in the cold, in the dark working. Not only do you need light, but you also need warmth. That's where this comes in. A torch beanie. I do feel a lot like a Chilean miner right now, but look at this. You just look where you want to go.
That's the worst part about a torch. How many times have you been trying to light something and you can't see, or someone else is lighting for you?
Tell me there's not a good amount of light. Look at this. I'm lighting up the whole place.
I kind of feel like I'm in a horror movie and you're searching for something that you shouldn't be. Quick, go left.
Now, this beanie cost only £3.29. The other torches that we got are a little bit more expensive. For £9, I have acquired a neck torch. Now, I don't have much neck to start with, but
I'm going to be real with you. It doesn't look like much use. Also, I spotted earlier on the box, it doesn't strictly say it's a mechanic tool.
I'll tell you what, they're quite bright.
Kind of looks like a semi-truck coming at me in the middle of the night.
The neck torch, more light than the beanie torch. I was thinking though, oh, that's quite nice actually. This is good. Now, if that wasn't good enough for you for £9, for £10, we have the final lighting solution. This is my favorite thing that we've probably bought. I feel like I'm hacking into the Pentagon from 2001.
Or Spider-Man.
If you're working on something, pulling wires or doing something under a car, I can see this being kind of usable.
Could I get all three if possible?
Absolutely, you can. So, I'm just here in the dark, working on my car, like it's absolutely no issue.
Like it's summer.
Like it's the middle of the day.
For a real-world test, I made Will wear all of the lights at once.
It's quite dark down here.
Our camera's also quite good at picking up light, but through my eyes, Will is just in a black hole currently.
There's tyre cap valve. You do that in the dark, so that's really, really good. Do you know what? It's actually also just quite useful for if you're also like a nighttime walker.
If you're rigged like a pitch at a stadium coming towards me, I'm not messing with you.
Also, everyone thinks you're an idiot. I think though, for the money, it's a pass. So we were about to film with this tool, but genuinely, Taylor just came in and I don't know what he said lots of words, but basically that's the tool he's after because that's the clip you need to get off.
So this is a squeezy clip for the coolant bowl. So this is a coolant hose.
And the tool, can you see how it's used?
Yes, you wind and then squeeze. So it can be a bit too long, but we'll try it on this one. So I'm going to pop it down here and then we wind. It's got quite a nice thread on it and then we just set it there.
It works.
These clips here are not nice and easy to use like these Jubilee clips. You can get a socket or a flathead on those and just easily undo them. These, you have to pinch them together. Now, many times, Taylor, you probably have as well, used pliers or some other kind of gripping device on them, tried to squeeze it together, it slipped off, and then you've cut all your fingers off and wanted to give up. But that tool does the job.
Yeah, no, shit. Yeah, no, the tool shit, it's bent.
Next up, we had a tool that could really come in handy.
This is an injector. You might recognise it, and it is for a petrol car. A diesel injector is quite different looking. That is because these are under a ridiculous amount of pressure. They tend to be inside the engine block pretty well. If anybody watching has ever tried to pull out a diesel injector just by hand, you will know the pain. That is where this comes in. I got served a video of this on Instagram and I thought, that's weird looking, let's buy it.
What is that? Some kind of pump thingy.
You connect this, basically a little vibration motor, onto the top of the injector while it's in the engine, and it goes brrrr and pulls it out with ease, saving you hours and days and months and years of your life trying to pull diesel injectors. So we're gonna have a go with it. What we're gonna do, this is just an old diesel injector, used one, don't worry, it's not of use. We're gonna stick it in our vise because they're just press fit in. There's no bolt holding them in, there's no nothing, you just have to pull them out. After you, sir, I'd like you to just get that out with anything other than that.
Okay, yeah, no.
If you try putting a slide hammer on it, it would go, but after a very long time. So Let's put this thing together. It only cost £68. It's a deal if this saves you an hour of your time.
There is an additional cost.
That's true, you do need to have an air compressor that is up to the task of doing it, and I'm pretty sure ours is.
Machine set up, we went for a test.
I believe all we do is we turn this and that will start it. It's basically like an air slide hammer. Also, let's all just be grown up about this. It's not funny. Sorry. That's quite good. If you are a diesel mechanic and you're spending any amount of time slide hammering out injectors, this thing, granted, you do need an air compressor, but that's a pass for the jackhammer. What else can we put this on? Rory, bend over.
Oil filters are bullshit, or at least they can be when a previous owner has tightened it up with every single long ratchet they've ever had. So our next couple of tools should help you out with that, because there aren't really tools in your average toolkit that will do this kind of job. The claw. You do need a ratchet for this, so there is an extra tool for this, but again, I'm hoping you've already got one of those. So then you just close down on it. Obviously, once you've got a ratchet on it, you get a bit of a better grip.
And he spins away.
And it spins.
That's not bad. How much did that cost?
This was £8.
Okay, well, I've kind of one-upped you, because this cost £1.42.
What is, that doesn't, do you know what, that looks like how much you just said.
This was Teamu's finest. I thought, you know what, let's give him a chance. You tighten that up, and then it levers
Do you know what?
against it.
That could be okay.
It could be. You first with your £7?
Yeah.
Blowing out the budget.
Let's get the bank breaker out.
Spending all of our money.
Okay, we're on. Gripping.
Oh,
Oh, I'll tell you what.
for a couple pounds, not bad.
There you go. That is an oil filter we fitted this morning, basically, to this car, so it hasn't been on there very long.
But we use this actual tool when we drain the oil on the 350Z, and it worked.
I reckon that is 100% a pass for that.
Now let's see Teamu's card. I actually haven't done a service on this car yet. This will be tight. So if this works, that's big. No, he's just slipping. I'm actually breaking the rubber. See if we go here.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, that is loose.
Some minor damage, and it did stretch a bit, but it did do that. And that's legit.
Hand on heart, I've never messed with this. To have in a tool chest, just in case, you know, you can't fit anything else and you have to just try this. For £1.42, worth.
Not bad.
Pass.
Approved.
Up next was a tool that could prove incredibly useful, if it actually works.
This next tool is to do with your brakes, but not to do with the caliper or the disc or anything like that, but the fluid that makes your brakes work. In these lines back here, and all the way along the car as well, to the front wheels, every single wheel, you have hard lines and soft lines that are full of hydraulic fluid, and it is hygroscopic. What that basically means is it can absorb water. Water doesn't have a very high boiling point, hence why you use it for tea. Brake fluid has a very, very high boiling point, so when it gets very, very hot, which it does in a braking system, the water that is absorbed into your brake fluid vaporizes and makes air bubbles, which is what gives you a nasty squishy pedal.
I have for you a brake fluid tester, aka, if you would please.
The Bremsflüssigkeitstester.
It tests how conductive the brake fluid is. And brake fluid isn't conductive, whereas water does have some conductivity. These aren't the most reliable, it has to be said. There's going to be lots of people in the comments saying you shouldn't use these. You kind of shouldn't. Different brake fluids have different conductivities, so these get upset.
I've seen garages use these. I remember my girlfriend took her Fiesta in for a service or something, and they came and said, your brake fluid's got X% water in it. And I was like, how did they find that out?
The better one that you can use that we didn't buy is a boiling point brake tester, and that's a proper one. You can use that well because it just tests the boiling point of your brake fluid.
So lots of the bits we're buying are from China, and there's a nice example of a spelling mistake here, something sort of lost in translation. Okay, no, water is detected.
Right, I had to stick a battery in it, so that was an extra cost, but this cost £6.36. Again, another Temu purchase, so we're trying the low end of the market. So all it says is dip it in the liquid, fully submerged.
Now, this fluid is actually quite old as far as we're aware.
Yeah, it is quite old, and we have got a warning. Green, yellow, red, approximately 3% of water. Change of liquid is recommended.
To see if the brake fluid tester was actually correct, we decided to test it on our personal cars.
Here we go. Am I a menace on the road?
Oh, says it's not good. Around about 3% water.
Which is what the Zafira said.
Yes, exactly. You're as bad as the previous Zafira owner, which
It's
is
really not good.
it's tough to see.
With two cars having the exact same results, we tested a third one, and shockingly, we got the same results again. So it was time for some proper science.
Our test subjects, we have glass of water from the tap. We haven't got any fancy bottled water. That is tap water.
As it comes.
And an unopened bottle of brake fluid. So, start with the water, I
Please, the
reckon.
water.
So that is saying that's water. Oh, that's quite new, that. Yeah, that's quite fresh.
The 2024. Oh, I'm getting notes of .4. Ready?
Here we go.
I mean,
To be fair,
he is saying that there's no water content in that. I mean, what that does though say is that we all need to change our brake fluid.
I was kind of expecting this was going to say, yeah, there's water in there, mate. But fresh brake fluid, as it should be, comes back clean. Water comes back as water.
Good tester. Again, pass. £6.
I'm going to take this when I buy a car, and I'm going to go, oh, mate, that's 20 quid off that, easy.
That's £6.36 off.
It was then time to test out some tools we'd both seen advertised for years and had always been curious to try.
Now, if you're working on cars, one of the things you're going to use most are spanners and a ratchet. But what if there was another way of doing it? I found one of these, which I always see advertised. These are universal spanners. Supposedly they will fit on all sizes. You don't need 20 of these like we've got behind there. You just use this. And then you've got, instead of a ratchet...
This is for getting access to things you can't normally get access to.
Well, let's have a test on here first. Whenever you're working on a bolt, you want it to be the right size. If it's too small, obviously it just won't fit. If it's too big, you're probably going to round the bolt off. The right size spanner, you can turn it quite easily. I mean,
It's doing it. So I'm going to tighten this loose manifold bolt, and then we're going to have a go with the universal ratchet spanner thing. This is a 12mm. Have you got that?
don't worry about it, mate. Got it. Because of the fact that it can only go in one way and then down, it means that you can't actually find an angle to get it on. Not that good for tight spaces.
I don't think this is a good tool.
I'm going to agree with you there. I think this is not a pass. Worst case scenario, you got nothing else in the car. You just need to get a bolt off, maybe. I keep a socket set and a ratchet in any car that I drive. Just a little pouch, you get a small one. This, no, fail.
May I try on this same bolt my blue tool?
So there's a turbo here, there's an exhaust. You can't get to this one here easily with your ratchet.
You can put the socket that you need on the bottom, then you attach your ratchet to the top. And look at this, look. As I turn the top one, the bottom goes.
It has to be said though, just the noise from moving it around.
It's not snap-on, is it?
No. Whoa, that's actually kind of cool. Yes, it's a little bit gimmicky, but I can actually imagine there being some uses for this. If your car has a radiator in and you need to get to a bolt down on the bottom and around it, something like that would help.
I want to put loads of extensions on it and see how far you can go. Like, could I, from across the room, round a corner?
That's a keeper.
Sold. Our next tool is 2 tubes.
Not quite, but we do need them for it. Here is my exploded gearbox from my Porsche 911. Very sad, but it's dead. When you fill up your gearbox, you tend to have a drain for it underneath, and then you have here a fill plug on the side. You undo your fill plug, you take your new gear oil, and you pop it in there. Sounds easy, right? Except when this gearbox is in the car, there is body here and here. So how do you get an entire tub of gear oil into the side of there? You can get the pumps that proper mechanic shops use, but those are expensive. So what I have used, and I've used this before with success, is one of these. What it is a little pump that you can connect to a household drill.
You will also need pipes.
What we have done is cut up a piece of hose pipe outside. Sorry, Alex. You take this guy, you put him on like that.
That looks like some kind of crazy weapon in a zombies game. No, oh my God.
And all you do then is you can put this into your new gear oil, you put this into your gearbox and fill it that way, but we will demonstrate. You point it in there, point that at the gearbox oil, and
There we go.
for £12, this will save you a lot of mess, a lot of stress,
And your dress.
and very good.
I like this, approved.
Also Draper, shout out, they send us a load of tools as well. Good stuff, Draper.
At that point, we were ready to test the solution to a common problem often encountered when working on cars.
Right, you join us in Alex's unit, because this is a 10mm socket. It's something that everyone who works on cars has to deal with. You drop a bolt, you drop a socket, and you cannot retrieve it with your fingers. The classic thing to do is grab yourself one of these. A magnet on a stick. This one's really good. This is a big bendy guy. Or the more classic ones that you have, Wingardium Leviosa. You simply put it in, grab the bolt you need, and come back out.
What if you could get it with your hands? What if you had magnets on your fingers?
God, I love Spider-Man.
These are roughly a tenner for a set, but you don't get 5, you get 3. There we go.
Look at that. You're a bionic man.
You couldn't just wear it while you're doing other stuff. You would have to. Oh no, I've dropped that in there. Look at that. I've got it.
I don't think it can be a fail.
This is a solution to a problem that has been solved.
Yeah, and it's been solved by my product that I bought. Powerful magnets to be a powerful man. Let's say I'm working on cars and I do need all of these guys here. On they go. I'm moving around the engine bay, I'm doing what I need to do. Oh, it's actually an 8mm.
Do you know what, I do feel like though there will be 1 or 2 occasions where you'll use that and something will fall off. It will fall off that and you will need this.
This is for all your DIY needs. You can take the stress out of work. The handyman you can count on. What I do like here is our little breakdown of blue is blue. We've got orange, which is orange, yellow and yellow, red, and black is black.
So be honest, your own money, are you buying it? And then if you're buying it, are you using that?
Here's what I'd do. I'd put the bolts down just here on the car metal so that they fall off and into the engine bay.
And then get this
One
thing
of
out.
those to get them out.
There is an alternative to that. That isn't weird and probably is quite cheap as well. I don't know how much these are. We've got a few of these. This is a magnetic dish. If I wanted to, I can stick it there.
And then any bolt that you do need.
And that is a nice, easy way of organising the stuff that you're working on. Or be like us, stick it in a scuttle panel. You'll find a 10mm in your windscreen wipers in 6 months. Our next tool is our analytics tool, and we have realised that a large percentage of you are watching the videos, that's some of you right now, and you're not subscribing. So you have to subscribe right now, and we will wait. Right, what's the next tool?
A gun, a full gun. No, this is a sandblaster. I think this cost £13.50.
Whatever you put inside said blaster is called media. Walnut blasting, I believe it's like the shells of walnuts. That's a weird one, but it does happen. And you're basically blasting something at a part, at some metal, at whatever, and it basically strips stuff back. It's way better than sitting there with a sandpaper or whatever. They use it for body shells, body parts, suspension components, anything really.
But you're not allowed to use sand, right?
Using sand is actually dangerous apparently. When you actually put it through a high pressure like that, it can make diseases.
So instead we've bought this, and this was an additional cost. This was £30 for 25 kilos of sanding media.
Come have a look in here.
This is great. Now again, this is another thing that requires an air compressor.
Our test part is this suspension arm from a Range Rover. Now, this is completely shot, but it is rusty, so you've got bits of flaking dirt and flaking metal on here. If you took it to a sandblaster, you'd probably come back with a nice shiny looking, brand new looking part that you'd have to just put a new bush in. But before that, I think eye protection.
Oh, I've got something for you. This came free with one of the orders that we made. God, I love Iron Man.
What? Really very, very painful on my hand. Well, it hasn't like fully cleaned it, but it has got rid of. See up there, you've got a load of crusty bits there, and then that is the bit that this has done. It goes everywhere.
It does.
Obviously, these are lots of tiny little bits of grit. As I was spraying that, it was hitting my head, it was hitting my hand. If you're doing this in your garage, or just anyway, you're gonna get stuff everywhere. It's probably best to craft some kind of sandblasting booth that you can empty out.
Perhaps the back of your Range Rover?
Perfect.
I'd call it a pass for what it is. If it was me, I'd spend a little bit more and get a little bit nicer one. Overall, pass. Our penultimate weird tool. What is that?
Very small robot.
Pancake machine. No, what this is a pneumatic lift, and it cost £72, and it comes with some absolutely perfect literature. The weight must be supported by the asset of jack, rated at the proper opacity before any work or inspection can be done. This jack is designed for use on hard. When inflated, the jack ride and vice versa. To control the switch in the rod back, to insert the compressed air in the right gas nozzle and close. Open the right bull value switch, and when the gas bag rises, it can be used. Please used in the relatively level solid ground. Compressed air should be clean and contain no waters. There is no need to raise the balloon to maximum, such as to cram off the ground to close the ball value switch, to stop the gas supply, to cram the safety bracket.
Okay. When not in use, it should be placed indoor and mustn't be placed outdoor. It is strictly prohibited to disassemble the jack balloon subject. Otherwise, there will be consequence to bear.
Always center the jack under the axle, åt a flat, rebflorst, frammy surface. So with those instructions now understood,
It's clear.
we can put this
I
together.
must rip flam from the surface.
After deciphering the instructions, we got the jack built and ready to be tested.
So this is the sort of thing that the pneumatic lift has to compete with. This is quite big and bulky, and the bigger and more heavy duty you go, you're not going to keep that in the car. Whereas that, if you can take it apart, you can take that arm off, you could probably leave it in a car, in a van.
You do need the air compressor with you though.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, yes.
So, but to test it, I think if you could please get the caveman's jack, we'll test how long it takes to lift up the car.
But we've already encountered a problem. It is a performance car, so perhaps it's a little bit lower than your average car, but it's not ridiculous at all. That don't fit. The puck here, where you should be putting on the jacking point, is way higher than even that point.
After switching to a car with a bit more ground clearance, we were ready to test the pneumatic jack.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'm not gonna race.
That is a wheel off the ground.
That's a wheel off the ground.
14 seconds 29. You were by no means racing. 14:29 to beat.
I'm ready. I'm just gonna lay on the floor for this.
3, 2, 1, go. Whoa! Stop! Whoa! Oh my god! Ah!
I thought the
I thought I was just going to fly away. That went up quick. Are we ready? I'm going to set this guy open.
Here is where this makes sense. If you've got a compressor in your van and you need to get cars up in the air quickly at the side of the road, that makes sense. I can't see where this makes sense in your garage.
Or if you're a mechanic shop like this place used to be, these are air outlets for air. So you'd plumb in a big compressor next door and it runs throughout the whole building. You have just air tools so that whenever you're working on a car like a professional shop, you just click your gun in and do it. If it's like that and you just have a lead, plug it into the wall, send it up and put some jack stands under, I get it.
For your average DIYer, that will suffice.
I think we need to give this a pass. It does the job it was asked to, but it's not very useful.
Final one, which is the one we think will save us all of the headaches.
Yeah.
Let's reveal it.
The worst thing for me when working on cars, and I'm sure it might be similar for you, is dealing with the previous owner who's decided that 12mm bolt, I can use a 13 or a 14 on that. For instance, here is a stud that we pulled out of this car that was pre-rounded quite nicely. And if I put a 12mm spanner on him, there's nothing going on there. Supposedly, our final product will save any need for that. No matter how round the bolt, they claim that this set will remove it.
Quite expensive, this.
Yes, I think this was £102. A lot of money. You could buy a whole ratchet set and spanner set for that money.
There are lots of cheap alternatives to getting rounded bolts out. I haven't found one that works.
Same. So imagine I'm a previous owner. That's a 12mm, right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's try a 13 on it.
Why not?
Is it? It might be coming.
Yeah, it's about any minute.
Oh, why is it not coming?
12mm socket on a ratchet.
Nice. Oh, you're undoing it, mate. Can this come to our rescue? This is a stud and nut that are stuck together. We're not expecting the nut to come off, but if it can at least twist this out, that's proof that it will pull a bolt out. It is a kind of a fluted rib, and they also say that as you try and undo it, it tightens and tightens. Right, Will, please, if you'd like to do the honors. It's going. It's already going.
There was a little bit of slip and then it gripped up. But that is going. I'm not being gentle with it now either. I'm being quite forceful. So far, this and the induction heater,
worth their weight in gold.
these could save your life.
And if you're an American who uses incorrect American measurements, where you're measuring 700 thousandths over 8 million quintillionths, they've got stuff for you too. 3/8. We got 7/16. We got half an inch. We got 11/16. What does that mean?
If you were like a tradesman or something and you actually did this as a job, if you had a rounded bolt that then leaves you completely stuck, that's worth its money, I think.
Final one, absolutely a pass. We will be using this a lot in the future, I can guarantee you.
That is, although it's expensive, I think that might be the best one yet. But we've actually found some really good tools.
Yeah.
We were expecting to find a lot of crap. Some of the adverts we've been served have served up some pretty good tools.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, you can watch another video here, and we will see you in the next one.